Welcome back to Whisper Wonders, where we delve into the intriguing and often the unsettling. If you're tuning in for the first time, please do subscribe and join our community of knowledge seekers. Today, we embark on a journey through the shadows of history, turning the pages to some of the most chilling chapters of human experimentation. We will venture into the depths of these dark tales, where ethics were cast aside in the name of progress. Prepare yourselves, as this is not for the faint-hearted. During the Second World War, the Imperial Japanese Army conducted some truly horrific experiments under the guise of Unit 731. Tucked away in the puppet state of Manchukuo, now northeast China, this covert unit was a cauldron of inhumanity where ethics and empathy were discarded for the sake of so-called progress. Unit 731 was a biological and chemical warfare research unit, a dark testament to the monstrous misuse of science. Its victims were primarily Chinese, Korean, Russian, and Allied prisoners, who were subjected to unspeakable atrocities. Vivisections performed without anesthesia, the testing of biological weapons, and chillingly cruel frostbite experiments were just a few of the horrors that took place within the unit's walls. These were not random acts of sadism. They were methodical, calculated, and aimed at a broader goal. The unit was driven by a thirst to develop biological weapons and to push the boundaries of human tolerance to extreme conditions. The value of human life was reduced to mere data points, a sacrifice at the altar of scientific curiosity. The number of victims is estimated to be in the tens of thousands, but the true count may never be known. Each one of those numbers represents a person, a life cut short, a family torn apart. The scars of Unit 731's brutality still linger in the collective memory of the affected communities. In the aftermath of the war, you might expect justice to be served for the architects of this horror to face their reckoning. Yet, in a disturbing twist, many of Unit 731's leaders were granted immunity. Their freedom was the price for their research findings. The pursuit of knowledge, it seems, can sometimes overshadow the pursuit of justice. The chilling legacy of Unit 731 serves as a stark reminder of the depths humanity can sink to in the name of advancement. From the east, we move to the west, where Nazi Germany carried out its own gruesome experiments during the Holocaust. A name that stands out in this dark chapter of history is Dr. Josef Mengele, often referred to as the Angel of Death, at Auschwitz. Mengele conducted numerous horrific experiments focusing particularly on twins, believing they held the key to understanding genetic diseases. These twins, often children, were subjected to invasive procedures without anesthesia, including organ removal, blood transfusions, and, in some instances, sewing twins together in a twisted attempt to create conjoined twins. Sterilization experiments were also carried out, with victims being subjected to radiation or surgical procedures, all without consent. Another area of Mengele's research involved hypothermia. Prisoners were left in freezing temperatures to see how long the human body could withstand such conditions. These tests were driven by a cruel curiosity disregarding the value of human life. But the atrocities didn't end with Mengele. Other Nazi doctors carried out similarly inhumane experiments across concentration camps, all under the guise of medical progress. It is estimated that hundreds of thousands of Holocaust victims were subjected to these horrific procedures. The aftermath of these experiments brought about a global reckoning with the ethics of human experimentation. The Nuremberg trials, held after the war, saw many of these doctors held accountable for their actions. These trials led to the establishment of the Nuremberg Code, a set of 10 principles to guide ethical medical research. Some of these rules include the necessity of voluntary consent, the prohibition of experiments that may cause death or disability, and the requirement that experiments should yield fruitful results for the good of society. However, these principles came too late for the victims of the Nazi experiments. The legacy of their suffering is a sobering reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink in the absence of ethical guidelines. The Nazi experiments led to a global reckoning with the ethics of human experimentation, but the lessons learned came at a devastating cost. Moving across the Atlantic, we find ourselves in the United States, where the Tuskegee syphilis study stands as a symbol of medical betrayal. This infamous chapter in American medical history began in 1932, when the U.S. Public Health Service initiated a study on untreated syphilis. The subjects? 600 African-American men from Macon County, Alabama, told they were receiving free health care. But in reality, they were unknowingly participating in a deeply unethical experiment. The aim of the study was to observe the natural progression of untreated syphilis. However, even after penicillin was recognized as an effective cure for the disease in the mid-1940s, the researchers chose not to treat the infected men. Instead, they stood by, watching as the men suffered and died from a disease that could have been cured, all in the name of understanding the course of syphilis. The study continued in this manner for an astonishing 40 years, finally coming to an end in 1972 when a whistleblower exposed the truth, sparking widespread public outrage. But the damage had already been done. Many of the men had died from syphilis or related complications. Others had unknowingly passed the disease to their wives and children, leading to a generations-long ripple effect of health issues. The Tuskegee syphilis study had profound implications for medical ethics and the public's trust in the medical establishment, particularly within the African American community. The sense of betrayal ran deep, and the memory of the study's ethical violations still lingers today. In response to the public outcry, significant reforms were made to protect participants in medical research, leading to the establishment of ethical guidelines and review boards. Yet, the Tuskegee study serves as a stark reminder of the potential for misuse of power in medical research and the importance of maintaining rigorous ethical standards. It shows us that science, without empathy, respect, and ethical boundaries, can lead to immense suffering and injustice. The Tuskegee study remains a shocking example of how the marginalized can be exploited in the name of science. In the shadows of the Cold War, the CIA embarked on a mind control project known as MKUltra. A chilling chapter in the annals of American history, this clandestine program sought to manipulate the human mind for the purposes of espionage and warfare. MKUltra was not confined to a single isolated experiment. Instead, it was a sprawling network of sub-projects, each more unnerving than the last. Unwitting subjects, which included both military personnel and civilians, were subjected to a range of psychological manipulations. Some were dosed with LSD, often without their knowledge, in an attempt to explore the drug's potential for mind control. Others were subjected to hypnosis, electroshock therapy, and even physical torture, all in the name of science and national security. The effects of these experiments were far-reaching and devastating. Many subjects suffered severe psychological damage, with some reportedly driven to the brink of madness. Yet, the full extent of the harm inflicted by MKUltra remains shrouded in mystery. Much of the evidence pertaining to the project was deliberately destroyed by the CIA in the early 70s, a move that has only served to deepen the intrigue surrounding this dark chapter in American history. Ironically, for all its sinister efforts, MKUltra failed to achieve its primary goal of mind control. Instead, it left a legacy of shattered lives and a deep mistrust of government-sponsored research. The project was officially declassified in the late 70s, leading to a series of legal actions by victims seeking justice and compensation. However, many argue that the full truth about MKUltra, its methods and its impact, has yet to come to light. Project MKUltra demonstrates the dangerous intersection of science and state power, with individuals often paying the price. It's a grim reminder of the ethical boundaries that should not be crossed, even in the name of national security. As we delve into the annals of history, we must remember and learn from these dark chapters, so they are never repeated. From Unit 731 to Project MKUltra, these instances of unethical human experimentation remind us of the importance of ethical boundaries in science. We've journeyed through the darkest corners of history, where the pursuit of knowledge crossed lines and human dignity was often overlooked. We've seen the horrors of Unit 731, where under the guise of war, unspeakable atrocities were committed in the name of progress. We've looked into the eyes of the Angel of Death at Auschwitz, Dr. Josef Mengele, and his horrific experiments that still echo hauntingly in the annals of history. We've revisited the betrayal of trust in the Tuskegee syphilis study, where African American men were left untreated, even when a cure was available, all in the name of research. We've delved into the shadowy realms of Project MKUltra, where the human mind became an experimental playground for the CIA. These stories are not just a part of our past, but a stark reminder of the necessity of ethics in scientific research. They underline the dire need for transparency, consent, and respect for human rights in all scientific endeavors. They teach us that progress and humanity must go hand in hand, for without one, the other loses its meaning. Thank you for joining us on this somber journey. Remember, knowledge is power, but without ethics, it can become a dangerous weapon. Until next time, stay curious.